Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to thank my sister, the President of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu, for hosting this very important meeting and for inviting me to participate. This is a very important subject that we are discussing here, linking the nexus between economic growth and the young people of our continent. That is the nexus that is going to define our continent going into the future. For a very long time, our continent has been defined by others in the context of being a continent of problems, disease, poverty, conflict, ignorance. We are defining our continent ourselves afresh, that this is a continent of great potential. This is a continent of immense possibilities. Why do I say so? 60% of all renewable energy globally is in the African continent. 2/3 of the world's uncultivated arable land is in the African continent. 40% of all critical mineral resources is in the African continent. And Africa is the youngest continent with innovative, creative young people. Those 4 items define our continent at the moment. And we are discussing in this summit the most important of the 4, the young people of our continent. Human capital is the asset that this continent has. And therefore, we must do whatever it takes to invest, to sharpen, to prepare this asset that is our young people. And it is the reason why we're saying the young people are going to define what becomes of this continent and what becomes of the globe. In any case, all of us know the statistics. By 2050, a quarter of the world's population will be living here. And most of them, 70%, will be young people. And therefore, we must make every effort to invest in these young people. And the first investment that we must invest in is education, making sure that there is affordable, relevant, and accessible education. In Kenya, for example, over the last 1 year, because it is not just important that we have 100% transition. It is not important. It's not only important that we have compulsory primary education, but we must keep the retention in school, and we must make sure that the education is of the right quality. It is the reason why we are doing a couple of things. Number one, and I'm very encouraged to hear colleagues from different countries speak about school feeding program for young people in early childhood, in primary. In Kenya, this year, we are scaling up school feeding from 1 million kids to 4 million children in school will have a meal every year, every day. Number two, to improve learning, the quality of learning. We've hired 55,000 teachers in the last 8 months. Our intention is to make sure that we increase the teacher-student ratio to make sure that effective learning is going on in our schools. And number 3, this year, our budget has moved to 29.5%. 29.5% of our budget goes to education. I am very encouraged that I hear colleagues, everybody is pushing from 20 to 22, I've had 25. We are at 29.5, and the reason is because this is the most important asset. Both in tertiary education, we are increasing the numbers of tutors. This year, we have doubled the budget for university education because we need more focus on the STEM aspects. And let me say this, that apart from investing in education as a way of equipping our young people, 2 other things are very important. Health is very important. And it is the reason why in Kenya we are scaling up promotive and preventive health and taking it to the bottom of the pyramid. Every 100 households in Kenya from this year will have a community health worker. Meaning that together with our county governments, we will have 100,000 community health workers paid by the government of Kenya in conjunction with counties to make sure that health is accessible and we shift from curative to much more promotive and preventive health. It is also important that we begin the journey for health commodities to be available locally. And that is why we are providing incentives for local manufacture of an array of medical products. And finally, on the subject of youth, it's not just important for us to provide education and to make sure that we have healthy young people. We must think through. For a very long time, we haven't thought clearly about what happens to these youngsters when they come out of college, when they come out of school, when they come out of university. What we have done in Kenya this year, intentionally and deliberately, we have a deliberate program on creating jobs. We have a housing plan that will create 1 million jobs every year. We have a whole agro-processing value addition manufacturing plan that's supposed to create 500,000 jobs. Deliberate. We have a whole ecosystem around technology, e-jobs. How do we create BPOs? How do we create employment in the digital space? We are focusing intentionally and deliberately creating opportunities for young people to, it's not enough to say that, when these young people come out of college or university, they will be self-employed. We have to be deliberate. And finally, to make it possible for them not only to access opportunities for employment, but also opportunities for jobs. And that is why we are extending affordable credit. In fact, in the last 6 months, we launched what we call a Hustler Fund for MSMEs. We have 15 million people borrowing money from the Hustler Fund. 7 million regular customers. We have lent 32 billion Kenya shillings. That is about $30 million in the last 6 months. And now it's we're scaling up for phase 2 so that we can leverage on the talent, the energy, the knowledge of the young people, not just to drive our economy, but to drive enterprise and also to expand opportunity, not just for themselves, but for the bigger society in our economy. There is nothing as powerful as an educated, empowered young person with opportunity. The sky is the limit, as they say.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I am taking away the multiplicity of the words deliberate that you are undertaking, interventions that are deliberately targeted in order to achieve certain results. Thank you. Nothing happens without deliberateness. So the next question then is tied to the Hustler Fund to an extent. And I think it goes to what one of the Deputy Prime Ministers spoke about earlier. Our people are hustlers. And we have seen it when they go away from our shores, those that have made it in the US, in Europe, etc., running those enterprises. But the question he posed was, how do we keep them at home? Your Excellency,